Hello, everyone. Lena here from the Triangle Homeschool Resource Center. I want to talk a little bit about getting everybody on board for this homeschool plan, right? So a lot of our success depends on buy-in, right? To some extent, no matter what you're doing. If you want to plan a family vacation to someplace that nobody else in your family wants to go to, how's that vacation going to go? Is it going to be relaxing? Is it going to be fun? Is it going to be enjoyable? Of course not. No, if nobody wants to be there, it's not going to be a whole lot of fun. So the same kind of thing goes for homeschooling, right? A lot of our success depends on how our family is buying into it, but not just our family, even ourselves. So that's what I want to talk about today is, number one, what happens when my attitude isn't 100% into the homeschooling thing? What happens if it's my spouse or my kids who are, really reluctant to do homeschooling? And then, what about all those other people in our lives, right? Grandparents, neighbors, friends, coaches, what have you. What do we do about getting them on board to support us? So the first thing is our own attitude. So your own attitude going into something is going to determine to a large extent your success or your failure. So if you go into homeschooling thinking, and as a lot of people have done in this last 18 months or so, gosh, I really don't want to do this, but I have to. I have to do this because the alternative just is blah, for whatever reason. Okay, and we're not really invested in it, and we're doing it with kind of a chip on our shoulder, resenting the fact that we aren't doing the alternative, whatever that is. And how does that affect, number one, how does it affect our success at homeschooling, and how does it affect our kids and their view of education and their enthusiasm for what they are doing? So, how does it affect our attitude? Well, if you don't go into something thinking that you're going to do well at it, you're going to succeed at it, and you're going to invest in it, then you're not going to be successful, right? You're going to fail if your attitude is, this is just awful and I don't want to do it. And how many times do we tell our kids that, right? They sit down to do a math worksheet or a reading assignment or a paper and they think, this is just terrible. I hate math. Do they ever do well on it? I mean, they might be able to do it, but is that really a learning process? Are they really getting out of it what they should be and could be getting out of it when they go into it with that attitude? The same thing happens with us when we start to homeschool and we think, I just don't know, I just have to do this. And, for whatever time, even if you're going into it thinking you're not going to do it long term, this is just kind of a stopgap, it's just whatever for the interim, you want to be successful at it. You don't want to put yourself or your kids behind by kind of going into it with just a terrible attitude about it and terrible thoughts of, this is just awful and this is the lesser of two evils, I guess. So what can we do about that? Number one is to be super clear about our goals. And I'm going to talk about this repeatedly throughout this session because I'm really big on setting goals for success. So number one, get really clear on your goals. For whatever amount of time you're planning on homeschooling, why are you doing it? Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? What brought you to homeschooling? Even if it's just to avoid schools right now because of the pandemic for whatever reason, then, your option, your goal here is to keep your children moving forward, right? So that's something positive that we set up for ourselves to say, this is what I'm moving towards. And it helps us stay motivated, it helps us stay focused, and helps us be successful at what we're doing. So, whether it's just moving forward, whether it's meeting your child's needs that weren't being met in a classroom setting, whether it's, spending more family time, set those goals for yourself. Make sure you're working that into the plan of what you do every day, every week, every quarter. And then you'll see success, and it helps to change our attitude about it over time. It helps to change our outlook from a negative, I've been forced into this or what have you, to a positive, look at what we're getting out of it. Look how we're moving forward towards these goals. Even if the academics isn't what you want it to be, even if the social aspect isn't exactly what you want it to be right off the bat, by setting yourself some goals that you can affect, that you can make positive progress towards, then you're setting yourself up for some success, and it helps to change your mindset about what it is that you're doing. All right. And they say, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy, right? So whoever is running the homeschool, whether it's mom or dad, if you're not happy about it, if you're not, excited, or maybe not even excited, if you just don't have a positive attitude about it, that's going to reflect on your kids. We all know that, right? So, and it happens with everything in our families and in our households. So certainly when it comes to education, whether it's school education or homeschool education, we want to have a positive attitude about it, so that reflects on our kids and that they can get excited and be successful. We want to set them up for success no matter what we're doing. Okay. So number one, get yourself on board. If you're doing this reluctantly, if maybe your spouse thinks it's really important and you're like, well, that's great, but I'm the one that has to do it, and I don't necessarily, believe in it. Set yourself some goals that you can achieve. Set yourself goals that you do believe in and that you can move towards. And it's going to help shift that mindset to more positive. And that's just going to do wonders for your kids' motivation to learn, and also just, that family life, that family vibe that you've got going on while you're homeschooling. So then getting those kids on board, right? Well, we already kind of addressed that. Number one, your positive attitude is going to have a huge impact on how they're looking at it. And your spouse, what if you feel this pull to homeschool, and, your husband or wife is just kind of like, I don't know, I did fine in school. What's wrong with school? Like, why do we have to bring them home? They're going to be weird. They're going to be da-da-da. So, there's only so much educating you can do to kind of help convince people if they don't want to be convinced, right? The other way is kind of the proof is in the pudding kind of thing, right? But that's another thing where you sit down with your kids, with your spouse, maybe as a family, and set goals. Set goals that you can achieve that are important to your kids. If they don't want to do math and English every day, maybe they like science, maybe they like sports, maybe they even really like pursuing their video games. Video games are okay. We can use them as educational. There's a lot of hand-eye coordination. There's a lot of logical thinking that kind of goes into those. So don't hate on them, especially if you can use them as a tool. Of course, we want to be careful and responsible with all of that. But if that's your kids' motivation, if that's what they like to do, then set that up as a reward system, a goal. Like, okay, well, you can play Minecraft if while you're playing, you take at least 2 hours a week to learn how to craft mods or learn how to kind of do some programming. Or there are classes out there that design like recreate ancient buildings in Minecraft, and there's history lessons that go along with it. So we can use those things. And if we sit down together and we kind of talk it out and say, what can we do that's going to help motivate us all to be moving forward on this every day? So number one, what are your kids' hobbies, and can you work them into the educational plan? That's going to be really motivational to them. It's really going to help with a positive attitude about what they're doing and what they're getting up to do Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, whatever, however you do school. Sit down with your spouse. If your spouse is reluctant to say, like, yeah, let's pull them out of school and do homeschooling because they're like, I don't know, how does this work? Number one, you're going to do some research together and you're going to learn about that. But number two, you're going to sit down and say, look, here's what I think we can get out of homeschooling that's positive, that's a positive difference than our alternative. And agree on that goal and how you can work towards it. And then let them see the fruit of moving toward that goal, of attaining that, see the outcomes, and then keep a dialogue going. You got to check in with those goals and make sure that you're working towards them. And that just kind of helps move everybody towards, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to, it works. Because you can't take a one-size-fits-all education that they had in the classroom and expect you're going to get the same results at home and one-on-one in your unique family, right? So it's a mindset shift. And one of the ways to help make that mindset shift is to, sit down and articulate those goals, articulate those things that you see as different from the classroom paradigm. Here's what we're going to do differently at home. Here's how we're going to get there. And, this is how we're going to get on board together to move towards those things. I'm sure there's something that you can agree on as a family that you want your kids moving towards, whether it's developing their character, developing a particular skill, something like reading the classics, or having a very diverse educational experience, or learning how to research, or learning the scientific method, whatever it is. Find something, even if it's just a small thing, and say, this is the goal we're working towards. Give yourself a timeline and make sure you plan to come back together and check in on that. Okay. And start to measure the fruits of your labor and see how that's working for you. Okay. So that's going to do a lot to, help either get everybody on board, or maybe ultimately decide, okay, maybe this isn't for us at this time, or maybe we need help. Right? And that's where somebody like me comes in. If you need help sitting down and talking about those things, about setting goals, about discovering, what is it about homeschooling that's really going to, kind of make you tick along as a family, then definitely get in touch. You can send me a message and we'll set up an appointment. We can sit down and talk about that. I can do anything from give you a self-paced course to kind of help you get up on your feet, or sit down and do some one-on-one counseling and help you come up with a very structured plan to get your homeschool off and running. Okay. So that's, kind of a getting started primer. So if you want to get started and you kind of need help thinking about those goals, but you want to do it on your own time, then check out the course I already have created. It is called the Homeschool Launch Pad. So you go to homescoollaunchpad.com/launch now, and you can enroll in that course, take it on your own time, but you also get to check in with me and with a community of other students taking that course who are getting started and working through all these things. Okay, so you want to get in on that and get going. So the last thing, in terms of getting everybody on board, what about the grandparents? What about your brother or sister, or in-laws, or neighbors, or coaches, or pastors? If they're not on board with homeschooling, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hard truth right now. It's not your problem. It's not your fault. It's not your problem. It's not your problem to solve. And I don't mean that you need to be snarky and you need to say, none of your business, right? I mean, these people hopefully are asking because they care about you and they care about your children and they care about your family. Okay, so let's assume positive intent here. Let's assume they don't just want to bash homeschooling, but they really do care and they just haven't made that mindset shift themselves. Okay, so number one, you can educate them a little bit about what you're looking to get out of it, right? Those things they can't argue with. This is your family, your priorities, your life goals, your values, right? It is nobody else's business, I'm sorry to say, to tell you what those things are. But you can be honest with them and say, this is what we want out of it. But, not what you're running away from, not what you're leaving. You don't need to be negative about maybe what their positive idea of, traditional schooling is. Be positive about what you are adding, what you're getting out of it, what you're looking to do differently. Okay. So be positive about that, but also, their feelings about it. You can live by example, I would say, like living it out, letting them see the fruits of what you're doing, and letting them in on that gently. And of course, with boundaries, and then hopefully they change their mind, but really their feelings about it aren't for you to carry. Okay. So, if somebody else isn't on board, It's okay to say, I really appreciate that you care about us and you care about our family. And because you do, I hope that you understand that we're doing this because, you know, we want more family time. We want more emphasis on our family's values. We want little Susie to have more attention to her special needs or her special gifts. And, you know, hopefully they would 100% be on board with that. And if they say, well, why can't you get that? Da, da, da. Well, we're going to try this. We're going to try this and we're going to see it. What we had before was not working out really well for us. So we're going to try this. And, you know, we'd appreciate your support, your positive vibes, your prayers, whatever, to help us move forward. And here's what we're really excited about. And let them know that, you know, you were really excited about this or you're really positive about this. And, you know, you invite them along on that ride. But don't let yourself be burdened by other people's judgments. Okay? Homeschooling is a family choice. It is for you and your co-parent, your spouse, whoever is really involved in raising your children. And them to decide. Sometimes it's not even our kids' decision, right? Sometimes we just have to say, look, we're the parents and we decide what's best for you. And we know you may not see this now, but hopefully down the road, you know, you'll see why this is a better choice for us to make, you know, for your future. So I hope that gives you a little help in terms of getting everybody on board and kind of just getting on that homeschool train and heading out of the station, because a lot of times I see families, parents caught in the analysis paralysis, right? I certainly do this with a ton of things in my life, not just homeschooling. It took me a little while to get over it too, and to say, okay, yes, we'll pull the trigger. And if it wasn't for just kind of being stuck in a situation that I absolutely could not fathom putting my child into, I don't know that, you know, I would have ever considered it. Of course, you don't, you know, fix what's not broken. So for us, the idea of kindergarten at the time felt broken. It felt like not right for where we were headed as a family. So this was the alternative. It wasn't supposed to be long term. We were just doing it as an interim. And here we are. That kindergartner is a senior now, and he'll be graduating this year. We have another kindergartner just starting that whole path this year. And now I can say I know for certain what the fruits of this journey have been for us. I really try to work through what has gotten us to this point so that I can help you with those lessons. It took me years to learn. So hopefully, you know, videos like this and sessions in our support groups and the classes and everything help you to kind of fast track that learning for you so you don't stumble and have all the discouragement that so many before you have suffered, right? You learn from those who've gone before you. So I hope that helps. And if there's anything I can do, I would love to hear from you in the comments of the video. Do you have somebody in your life who is reluctant to get going on this homeschooling journey? Was it you yourself? How did you get past it? I would love to hear your stories so that we can share and learn from each other how we got past it, how our spouses got past it, how we get our kids on board to be excited about this if they didn't necessarily want to leave school. And then if you're still hitting that stumbling block, you know, what is it that you need? What is it that you feel is that hump you just can't get over? And I would love to help you with that, okay? So leave a comment. Let me know you like this video. Please like and share it. And I'll be copying it on over to YouTube if you're seeing this on Facebook. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/The Triangle Homeschool Resource Center. They didn't let me shorten that somehow. But now we actually have a URL, and we would love to add some subscribers over there. So come on over and join the conversation there. Lots happening on the videos there. So have a great week, everybody. And don't forget to leave a comment, like, and share. Take care.